everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm interviewing my roommate back in California, Virginia Diaz, and she is a process design engineer in the Bay Area. And today she's going to be telling us more about what she does at her job and how she got into it. So I guess if you want to introduce yourself, like what you studied, just give a quick background.
Yep. So hello, very happy to be here with my roommate. And yeah, so for some background, I studied mechanical engineering as my bachelor's, and I also did my master's in mechanical engineering. And then after that, I went into quality engineering in the medical device industry, and I was there for 4 years. And then I did process design slash manufacturing design for the past 3 years, almost four, in the Bay Area in tech. So that's the quick story.
Nice. And I know that so the people watching may not know, but you're actually originally from Spain. So how did you originally get the idea of going into mechanical engineering?
So I feel like when I was younger, I was always interested in like how things work in the physical world, like why are things the way they are and how they move and all of that. And I was always very interested in technical drawings. Like that's something that always called me. And even to this day, I just find them super cool. Like, in fact, when I was younger, my parents got us this like kind of computer for children. And there was this app or this game where you would have to figure out the object based on this technical drawing views that they had. And me as a kid, I'm like playing with those instead of dolls. So I feel like after that, it's always been something that I enjoy, just kind of like gives me peace in my mind studying like math and physics. Like it all makes sense. Like you can put things in a box doing that.
Mhm.
Um, and so I guess it kind of happened naturally, like when I was in middle school and high school, once we had to pick our subjects and like which way you want to go about it. For me, it was very obvious. Like what I've always enjoyed since I was like maybe 12 in school was all the science-based subjects and like math, physics, all those core things. And so it was easy going into that route in high school. And then it's true that when I went to do like to actually select my major, which is a little different than in the United States, how we do it. Like you don't do generals and then you choose, you just go straight when you're 18 into like your whole
Mhm.
major. Like
Oh,
in my
wow.
first year, I already had like all the actual core classes for mechanical engineering.
Mhm.
And I actually had a bit of a dilemma. I was like, okay, do I want to go to law school? Do I want to do something totally different? Like I didn't know because I'm always very curious about everything. But then the degree that was very accessible to me, very close to my hometown, was mechanical engineering. I
Mhm.
was also debating aeronautical engineering, but that was in Madrid and it would be more logistically complicated. And I was like, you know what? I actually feel like I don't have a strong draw for anything. And I don't know why I decided not to do law school because I was really close to doing that. Now I'm glad I didn't. I think this was the right choice for me. And I just feel like it's a very diverse career. Like I feel like you can any engineering really, but I'm glad I did it just because
Mhm.
I feel like you can go into so many things, which I'm sure we'll talk
Oh, yeah.
about. But I think that's why I did it. It was very like very accessible to me. It was like the easy path, like the path of least resistance, if you will.
Yeah.
And it's something that went really well with what I was interested so far. And I love like the moment that I started, I loved every class that I had. I was
That's
like, I just
awesome.
love it. And I feel like every time I would take a class, I would understand more about the world around us. Like I love looking at something and understanding how it was assembled, how the materials probably were treated to be used for
Mhm.
that purpose. Like everything is thought out. Everything we see has so much design behind it, even in the more simple things. And getting to know how that happens to me is like so interesting.
So what does a typical day look like? I know that it definitely changes in your role,
Yeah.
but maybe like just one day that's more regular than others.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good question. So I would say at first I get there. I'm a very organized person. So I'll get there and I'll see what I have to do for the day and for the week. Like what is the goal for the week and how can I move forward in that? So I will look back also at what I did the previous day. Like where did I leave everything that I was working on the previous day? But usually so what I do is I manage a process and I want to look at what's coming in the future, for example, or what are we preparing for? And how can I study this process to accommodate the changes that are coming? Kind of like that's what I'm doing in this current role.
Mhm.
So Yeah,
That's
study
cool.
the process,
Yeah.
improve it, or prepared for the next thing that's coming.
Makes sense. So what are some of the tools that you guys use in that role? Are there specific technologies that you need to use? Anything that specific to that role? I don't know if in college, I know as a
Mm.
software engineer, there's specific programming languages or
Yeah.
like, stuff that we use, but I don't know for a process design engineer, do you guys use certain things like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I feel like in the main thing that you need to manage, I guess, when you're in college, for mechanical engineering is you learn SolidWorks or any like AutoCAD or Inventor program that allows you to design pieces. But I feel like most people that study that they don't end up using that. Like I, for example, at this point, that's not what I do. I don't design pieces.
Mhm.
So I am able to use it and interpret it. And if I needed to change something for some reason, even though that's not what I do, I can do it. But right now, in terms of technology, we use Excel. We use a program called OmniGraffle, which is for making process flows. Like you have all your boxes and then you have all the arrows. Um, but I'd say it's a lot of making presentations and writing technical documentation.
Mhm.
I've also learned Minitab. That's something that we also learn. It's like a advanced or programmable calculator that you just use online or a program. So those two are the main ones. And in terms of skills, I would say it's funny because sometimes I think about it, like what exactly are the things that I learned in school that I'm applying today? But I
Mhm.
would say there isn't, I think someone that's more specific, someone that specialized in, I don't know, fluids or something, and that's what they do. But when you take a step back and you're not doing that specific detail and you're more on like a program management or process design, I feel like everything that I learn helps me understand. Like, for example, if we're bringing onto our process a new fixture, then knowing things like how does lubrication play in the process, what maintenance may be needed based on the materials that it uses, or if there's a tool that has a certain repetition on the arm of the fixture, then you can think about, okay, is it going to overheat? Is the screw something that I need to pay attention to that may have to be replaced? Is it like a more precise equipment where I need to make sure that it's always on target because my piece is really detailed, or is it something that is just, moving something, some part that is not really that precise? So it's more of understanding how everything works in the material world and just bringing that into anything you're working on. So
Mhm.
but yeah, in terms of skills are like the classes that we took, it's a little bit of fluids, a little bit of heat dynamics, a little bit of manufacturing processes, which I think that one's very crucial to what I'm doing now, like understanding how things are assembled or um how things come together or how you can disassemble them in this case for me, for example.
Yeah.
So yeah, in terms of technologies, I feel like you guys may have more things in the software engineering realm. For us, it's
Yeah.
like CAD and some advanced calculator thing on Excel.
Okay. Cool. So what is the interview process usually like for a role like this? I guess getting out of school, I guess maybe it's a little different from an entry level to like where you
Yeah,
are now, but do you want to talk about kind of what they would ask potentially for
definitely.
somebody that's just graduating from mechanical engineering?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I feel like for me, I loved doing, and this is something I recommend to anybody, is going to the job fairs at school. Like that's for me, that was gold. I met so many great companies, even like where I was, it's not like a really large or very like, I don't know, prestigious Ivy League school. And I feel like we got Goldman Sachs, we got a lot, like we got Intel, like we had lots of great companies. So whatever university someone is at, you have to go there because you never know. And I feel like if you are there's something you're working on, like your a thesis or your final year project, that's something that they're gonna bring up for sure. At least that was my experience. They want to see you talk technically through something. They want to see how you explain things. So I feel like you may think the most important thing is that you retain a lot of knowledge, and the most important thing is how you can explain it and how you can communicate. Like that's the key of everything. And I feel like if it's something that has helped me is being able to communicate with people both technically but also being able to dumb it down because you're going to be talking to some teams that are very technical, but you may also be talking to vendors, to operators on the floor working on the pieces. Like you need to really understand it in a way that you have the mental flexibility to explain everything. So something that they might ask you it's like gosh, I wish I can remember exactly, but I think so. One of the interviews that I did, it was actually with a very small startup where I was, and they asked me something regarding heat dynamics or thermodynamics. And it
Mhm.
was something like if you have a hot cup of tea
Mhm.
and you're taking it to another room or something,
Mhm.
oh, yeah, would the teacup get colder if it's hotter at the beginning or if it's a bit cooler at the beginning if you take it to another room or something? And they wanted me to talk through like there's a specific equation that governs how heat is transferred. And so they wanted me to talk through that. Or
Mhm.
another company that I worked at, they asked me about how does heat move if you're in a vacuum, for example. And so they want you to know about radiation and how
Mhm.
that happens. And like, okay, what's the power that this specific variable is elevated to in this equation? So they make it very technical, but to be honest, I feel like if you know overall a question like that, if you're like, oh gosh, I couldn't tell them like to what degree this thing is, if you
Yeah.
don't know that, but you know how that plays into the real world, I think if you ace everything else, like you have a good presence
Mhm.
and you can explain yourself well and show that you really want the job. If you don't know that specific thing, but you can explain everything else, that's gonna be fine. So they want to see how much you have retained and how much you can actually use it, because some
Mhm.
people are very book smart, but they can't
Yeah.
apply it. So they're
Yeah.
gonna probably ask you like that and maybe some general questions like, okay, tell me about a problem you solved,
Yeah.
or
Mhm.
I don't know, a project that you worked with someone on. And they may also ask you some more character questions like what is something hard that you went through in your personal life, or why
Mhm.
did you choose mechanical engineering in this case? So
Yeah.
they can go from very technical, or if you've already had a job in the past and this is your second job, they're probably going to ask you like, okay, whatever you were working on, how does it work? And they're gonna really want to know, okay, you didn't just exist in that role. You got to know the product and you know how, from the mechanical engineering point of view, you know all the mechanisms that come into play. Like if you're talking about, I don't know, a car, they're not gonna just want to see a basic level. If you've been there for 3 years and they ask you about the engine, they're gonna want to know more than someone that just came out of college new. So every time you go through something, make sure that you can show what you learn and what you gained from
Mhm.
it. But yeah, I would say
Yeah.
those, of
That's good
course,
advice. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So what would you say are the pros and cons of being in the role? Anything that you want to share in this aspect?
Okay, pros. I think I have way more pros than cons. I may be biased, so it's hard to find cons. I feel for pros, it's just such a versatile career. I feel like, but this goes for all the engineerings. Like I feel like if you really don't like it when you're out of school, you could even go into something that doesn't require a degree. Obviously, some things they're very stuck on like a degree, but you can even go do something related with finance if you have really grasped the math aspect of it. Like, or you could go into PMing, or you could go into serious engineering. You could go from engineering doing one thing, electromagnetism, and you could go into, I actually want to do fluid dynamics. Like it's so broad and it's whatever you want to take it. And I think it's also a field that can allow you to be an entrepreneur in many different disciplines as well.
Mhm.
And I feel like it's so cool that you get to understand the world. Like I feel like I'm not a person that could fix something because I'm not interested in doing that. But if it came down to it and I had to learn, then I think I like to think that I have some base to understand basic things. Um, and in terms of cons, I guess the degree, it is a little hard if you're not into math and stuff and you're just going just to go. You have
Mhm.
to really apply yourself. Like at least, I don't know, at least when I got it and back home, they take it really seriously. So it can be tough.
Mhm.
And then I feel like depending where you are, it may be more competitive or less. And you may have to really show that you know your stuff. Like I feel like maybe some other careers, it's a bit more about your personality and your creativity. This is a career where mostly they're gonna want to know that you know your stuff, and this is difficult stuff to know. So I would say if
Mhm.
you're ready to apply yourself, it can be such a rewarding and fruitful career, but you're gonna have to know your stuff. So
Yeah.
that would be a con, but for someone that wants to do it, is a pro because it's gonna differentiate you from other people that are just there just to be there.
Yeah.
But a con is, yeah, but on the other hand, I feel like some other careers, you really have to be on top of all the new stuff that's coming out.
Mm,
At first, you could do that, but there's also so many principles that are timeless that you don't have to be doing that. Just your job is gonna keep you fresh on it. Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah, I know.
that's what I would say.
Would you say it's more hands-on, or is it like now a lot of the roles in mechanical engineering, it's like all like computer facing? Do you guys do any like hands-on work in
Yeah,
your role?
I feel like that's a great differentiation. Like, I feel like you can go totally office based and
Mm,
not touch anything. And that's a lot me, honestly. I feel like I started very much more hands-on, where I was close to oh, the window. Um, I was close to like the manufacturing floor, and I got to be very hands-on. And now I have the option to be more hands-on, but I like being in the office a lot and just like I don't know, just playing with my brain and all this stuff that I have to
yeah.
do. But at the same time, I feel like just as many engineers are actually hands-on, and there's so
Mm,
many mechanical engineers. I feel like they are known for wanting to be there and playing with the things and
yeah.
making things happen. So I feel like if you're a person that wants to go more the office route, you can absolutely do that. That's what I like to do.
Mm,
But most of my teammates, they like being more. I mean, I like being hands-on, but I don't want that to be the thing that I have to solve, if that makes sense.
mhm,
Like I want to be
yeah.
involved and know what's going on, like what's behind the hood, if you want to say that.
Mm,
But I don't want to be in the lab 24/7. But
yeah.
I feel like you can go either route. There's roles for everything,
That's
100%.
cool. Yeah, which is pretty rare now. I feel like a lot of other types of engineering, it's all just like computer facing. But then
Mhm.
I feel like mechanic's pretty versatile. Like there are
Totally.
still people that do hands-on stuff.
Yeah, I feel like if
Yeah.
you are someone that never wants to be in front of a computer and you go into mechanical engineering, you can 100% do that. I'm never, well, you'll have to maybe do a presentation or
Yeah.
something. But you want
Yeah.
to be in a lab all day, or I don't know, you like cars and you just be with cars, or you like, I don't know, big things like airplanes or something, and you want to do that. Oh my gosh. And they love that. I feel like like managers and hiring companies, they love people that want to be, because a lot of people want to be on a computer. They find it hard to be, five days a week doing that in person. But if you like doing that, that's a career for you for sure.
Nice. Okay, any last words of advice for people that are
Okay.
looking to go into this field?
Yeah, I feel like the world is changing. So I don't know where things are gonna go. 'Cause sometimes I wonder, with AI and everything, we
Oh
don't
yeah.
know. But I feel like if this is something that has been interesting to you for a while and you've always had an inclination towards understanding the world around you, it's a great place to start. And you can always do your master's and take it somewhere else. It's very versatile to do an MBA after and going to more the business route. So overall, I recommend it, but my advice would be whatever you do, just do it well and apply yourself. And it's just gonna be well. Like if you do this and you apply yourself, you're gonna kill it. If you do this and you don't apply yourself, it's not gonna give you fruits just because you did it. So my
Yeah.
advice is like choose what you like
Yeah.
and you can also do really well.
That's good advice. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming and sharing your experiences.
Thank you for having me.